Join us now to share his thoughts on the current status of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, particularly the Conference Committee harmonization and the growing call for mandatory transmission of results as a safeguard for electoral transparency. Is Saka Azimazi. Is an ECOWAS accredited election observer, consultant, and Kukah Center technical advisor on law, security, and governance, as well as international human rights lawyer in person. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight.
It's my pleasure.
That's a lot of title.
Welcome, yes.
Thank you very much.
Great. So let's begin. You have followed this debate, the amendment of the Electoral Act in Nigeria ahead of the next elections. However, the electoral body has gone ahead to release timetable, but it says it's still keeping an eye on that amendment. I wonder how you interpret what is going on so far, and what do you make of it? That INEC itself, particularly on electronic transmission of results, has been numb. When INEC is the body that carries out elections in Nigeria, do you find it amiss or odd that INEC hasn't come out to say we can or we can't?
Thank you very much for your question. Maybe we will share them into two, so I'll answer them gradually.
Great.
First and foremost, INEC is an implementer of law. It does not give itself rules on what it could do or could not do. A law is made and INEC is to implement that law according to the letters of the law. And so it cannot be the one to advocate one way or the other of how the law should be. Theirs is to say that this is what the law says and we are going ahead to implement it, that's all. But more importantly is to look at the fact that the question of how results are to be transmitted in Nigeria is not a new question, really. It's just that the agitation has increased, and advocacy around it has gotten to a much higher tempo. First and foremost, the law INEC is operating today is the 2022 electoral law.
Yes.
The process to amend that law or replace it is ongoing at the National Assembly. And so, since there is a law existing on elections, until that law changes, INEC is in a good position to continue to operate the extant law. And until that law changes, we'll continue to use the 2022 Electoral Act. As it is today, if eventually the National Assembly is unable or unwilling to change the existing law, INEC will go and conduct election according to the 2022 Act, not any other law.
In spite of all the shortcomings that have led to this long process of amending that particular law. But what do you make of the National Assembly has set up a 24-man committee to review or harmonize the laws passed by both houses. We're hearing that there's a lot of pressure on the reps to actually, shift its position on the issue of real-time transmission. What do you make of this? And do you really think that this amended law will actually see the light of day, the way things are going now? And what would be the implications if it doesn't?
Well, like I said earlier, the process of amending the law is ongoing.
Yes.
It's inconclusive. As it is clearly in the media, the House of Reps passed a law that is at variance with what the Senate passed.
Yes.
The logical thing and legislative procedure is to have a committee to reconcile the differences. And that committee has been set up. I'm not sure it has started work on it yet. On pressure on the National Assembly, either house, on what should be in that law or not be in that law, I also think that is quite democratic. Interest groups are interested in a law that will favor their own ambition, and push them forward. So pressure groups are normal. In America, they call it lobbying groups and all that.
That's understandable. But from your understanding of the Nigerian environment, elections before now, and the cause for electoral reforms, where do you stand on the issue of real time or no real time?
When I give this example, people simply laugh at me. Moniepoint transact businesses in millions of numbers every day.
Right.
They have millions of transactions they conduct every Moniepoint. It's not even half as big as First Bank. So if Moniepoint has the network to transact business across Nigeria, Opay does so all the time. There's nothing stopping INEC from borrowing their technology for 1 or 2 days to conduct election and report real time. So there's really no excuse for us to deny ourselves of the goodness of real-time election transmission. The only thing that could argument that could be brought against real-time transmission is the fact that we simply want to corrupt the system. We don't want the system to work.
Okay, so you do agree that giving discretionary powers to an official of INEC is susceptible to corruption and undermining the entire process. And I go back to my initial question, Mr. Azimazi, when I say INEC remains norm. Yes, INEC, does what the law says, but it is the body that conducts elections. We are governed by 3 laws in this country when it comes to elections: the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and INEC guidelines. As the body at the center, and if you allow me, in the eye of the storm at this moment, should we not be hearing from INEC if they have the capacity, the infrastructure to ensure that the process is in transmitting results can be electronic or not? Because this debate has been put into the hands solely of the lawmakers. So that's why I ask you, do you believe that INEC should step up the plate and say, and join this conversation to say, all of this conversation, all of this controversy is unnecessary because we can
or we can't.
Or we can't.
INEC is not in a position to take a position on the matter.
Why not? They did before the 2023 election.
They are to operate a law. They are not to make a law. Once the law is made by the assembly, if they have to go to heaven and come back to implement it, they will have to go.
Recall that before the 2023 election.
Because you recall that every time election comes, they bring out the budget. This is how much you need to do the election. Right. That is just their work.
But they are in custody of the infrastructure is what I'm saying. They are to operate the infrastructure.
If they don't have the infrastructure and the law is passed, they should ask for the infrastructure. That's all. They cannot intervene at this stage. They are not part of the law-making process.
Recall that before the 2023 election, former INEC chairman had actually reassured Nigerians that they had over 90% capacity to drive this election, technology-wise. So what exactly has changed now? And that was INEC stepping in and saying this is the situation of things.
That's what I'm saying now, that INEC at the point of lawmaking has no role. In how their own law is made.
Theirs is just obey.
They are part of the executive.
Understand.
And we have separation of power. So they have no say in the matter. And they are not civil society. INEC is a government institution. So they cannot advocate either way.
All right.
Their own is, when the law comes, they are instructed that do this.
They do. Thank you very much, Saka
Azimazi. Is going to ask INEC to jump into the fire. Jump into the fire.
They cannot.
Saka Azimazi is ECOWAS accredited election observer, consultant to Kukah Center, and is an international human rights lawyer, joining us tonight on Newsnight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.